She raised the candlestick above her head and brought it straight down on the most valuable thing in my studio. The $40,000 Ming vase I had spent 3 months restoring. Gone. $40,000 of irreplaceable history, exploding into dust across my studio floor in under a second. My sister stood in the wreckage with her chest heaving, waiting for me to cry. Waiting for me to beg. Waiting for me to do what I had always done. Fold. Instead, I unlocked my phone. Took 3 clear photographs of her standing in the debris. I pressed the silent alarm button under my desk. What I did next with the lawsuit, and what I eventually did to her entire digital existence, is something she never saw coming. My name is Kendra. I am 26 years old. And I bring dead things back to life. Including my own story. High-end vintage restoration is not about glue and paint. It is about seeing value where everyone else sees trash. It is a skill I learned out of necessity. Growing up in my family meant growing up invisible. My parents, Richard and Susan, had 2 daughters. Brittany was the marquee event. I was the infrastructure. I fixed the Wi-Fi. Balanced the checkbooks. Cleaned up the messes. Also, my sister could shine a little brighter while I disappeared into the walls. Useful. Never celebrated. When I was 19, they gave me $5,000. Not as a gift. As a loan, to get me out of the house so they could convert my bedroom into a content studio for Brittany. I paid every cent back within 6 months. With interest. Every screw, every sheet of sandpaper, every auction bid since that day has been funded entirely by my own hands. But facts don't matter in a family like mine. In Richard and Susan's world, success is a zero-sum game. They genuinely believe the universe allocates a fixed amount of luck to every family. If I have a thriving business and a beautiful home, I haven't earned it. In their minds, I have stolen Brittany's portion. I am the thief who raided the family vault of potential. And they had decided it was time to take it back. If you already know where this is going, hit that like button right now. And if this is your first time on Story Mode Revenge, subscribe and press the bell icon. We post stories like this every single week. And I promise you, this one ends somewhere Brittany never saw coming. My hands didn't start shaking until I was inside my car. 3 miles from the studio. The adrenaline finally leaving my body, replaced by a cold, hollow ache. I drove automatically until I turned up the long, winding driveway to my home. They call it the Glass House. A sprawling mid-century modern structure perched on a cliff edge. Featured in architectural publications. Valued at over $1.2 million. When I bought it 2 years ago, it was a rotting foreclosure filled with black mold and broken windows. Everyone else saw the rot. I saw the bones. That has always been my job. 1 week after the vase. I was in the studio assessing a set of water-damaged Victorian chairs when the front door chimed. I assumed it was a courier. Then I heard the click of heels on concrete. My mother's heels. I turned to find Richard and Susan standing in the entryway. They didn't look apologetic. They looked like generals surveying a battlefield that they believed they had already conquered. We need to discuss Brittany, my father said, bypassing pleasantries entirely. She's in serious trouble. I imagine she is, I replied. Assault and destruction of property tend to be frowned upon. Don't be dramatic, my mother snapped. The vase was an accident. This is bigger than that. Because of the stress you caused her, by hoarding your success, she made some errors in judgment. Errors in judgment. That was the phrase they chose for what Brittany had actually done. Which was, sell counterfeit luxury handbags online. Federal wire fraud. The feds are involved, my father said, his voice dropping low. Fines. Possibly prison time. She's 24 years old, Kendra. She cannot go to prison. So hire a lawyer, I said. We can't. Her assets are frozen. Our liquidity is tied up. We need you to fix this. My mother swept her hand dismissively across my studio, across the priceless antiques surrounding us. Sell some of this. Pay the fines. Get her an attorney. Help her rebrand. It's the least you can do after everything we gave you. Everything you gave me? I asked quietly. We gave you your inventory, my father shouted, his composure cracking. Those chairs. That table. Family property. We let you take it to start your little hobby, and you turned it into a fortune while your sister struggled. The lie was so complete. So audacious. They had rewritten history so thoroughly that they actually believed it. They had made themselves the architects of my success, so they could feel entitled to the dividends. I'm not liquidating anything, I said. And I'm not paying her legal bills. Get out of my studio. My father leaned close. You think you're untouchable in your glass house, Kendra. His eyes were cold. But remember, glass breaks. If you don't help us, we will take what is owed. They turned and walked out, leaving the threat hanging in the air like smoke. They just threatened her. In her own studio. Drop a comment below right now. What would you have done in that moment? Tell us everything. And keep watching, because what Kendra does next is not what any of them expected. She doesn't fight back with emotion. She builds a trap. I didn't sleep that night. But not because I was afraid. I was calculating. Richard was right about one thing. Glass breaks. But tempered glass, the kind used to protect million-dollar artifacts, is designed to withstand pressure that would shatter anything ordinary. Fighting my family with emotion was a losing battle. They thrived on emotion. They fed on guilt and shouting matches. To beat them, I had to stop being their daughter. And start being what they feared most. A creditor. I called them the next morning. I didn't sound angry. I sounded tired. Resigned. The tone of a daughter who had finally stopped fighting. I have a solution, I told my father. Meet me at the office. They arrived at noon. Brittany wore oversized sunglasses to hide her swollen eyes, looking like a tragic celebrity. Richard and Susan swept in like vindicated royalty. We knew you'd come around, my father said, loosening his tie. Family helps family. I slid a thick leather binder across the cold steel conference table. I can't pay the fines directly, I explained calmly. My liquidity is tied up in inventory. But I can buy the debt. I become Brittany's investor. I cover the legal fees, the customer restitution, and the rebranding costs. In exchange, we form a partnership. I handle the financials. Brittany handles the creative. Brittany pulled her sunglasses down. So you pay for everything, and I keep running my brand? Essentially, I said. But since I'm putting up the capital, I need security. Standard partnership agreement. Just gives me financial oversight so the federal investigators don't come back. My father didn't even open the binder. He just smiled that smug, self-satisfied smile. Sign it, Brittany. She's paying the bills. Let her have her paperwork. Brittany grabbed the pen. She didn't read a single word. She didn't see the clause on page 14. She didn't see the UCC-1 financing statement language buried in the legal boilerplate. She didn't understand that by signing, she wasn't just accepting a loan. She was legally classifying her Instagram handle, her website, her email list, and her entire brand identity as distressed assets, collateralized against my money. To them, this was a bailout. To me, it was a deed of transfer. Done, Brittany said, dropping the pen with a smirk. Try not to be too controlling with the budget. I have a vision for the rebrand. They left the office high-fiving. Already talking about where to celebrate. They walked out thinking they had bullied me into submission. If you believe the best revenge is living well, and taking back what's yours, hit that like button right now. Join the inner circle of story mode revenge by subscribing. We don't get even, we get ahead. I watched them through the glass walls. And I picked up the contract. The ink is still wet. They thought they had won a partnership. They had just signed a confession of judgment. She handed them a contract they didn't read. And they signed it laughing. Subscribe to Story Mode Revenge right now and press the bell icon, because what happens 89 days later is the moment this entire story turns. Don't go anywhere. For 3 months, I played the role perfectly. I paid the fines. Hired the web developers. Approved the advertising spend. Brittany posted constantly photos of her new office, which was actually just a rented corner of my warehouse, talking about her comeback journey, her resilience, her phoenix moment. She never mentioned my name. Not once. To 500,000 followers. To her, she was rising from the ashes by herself. To me, she was a tenant living on borrowed time. Then came the breach. I knew it would happen. Entitlement is a habit. And habits are almost impossible to break. It started small. A company card charge coded as client relations. It was a spa day. Then, a flight to a resort for a content shoot that was clearly a vacation with her boyfriend. In a single month, the unauthorized spending hit $12,000. I didn't call her. I didn't send a warning. I simply opened my laptop. At 2 in the morning on a Tuesday. Because of the power of attorney clause buried in the partnership agreement, I didn't need her permission. I needed a reason. And she had just handed me 12,000 of them. First, I rerouted the DNS for her website, pointing it directly to my restoration portfolio. Then I changed the passwords on every business email account. Then, using the notarized transfer agreement she had signed without reading, I took ownership of her Instagram account. 500,000 followers. 5 years of carefully curated content. Gone. I didn't delete the account. I simply changed the handle from Brittany Lifestyle to Kendra's Restoration Diary. And archived every single one of her posts. 5 years of selfies and brunch photos and influencer captions, replaced by a single high-resolution image of a restored 18th century cabinet. The caption read, "True value is built. Not bought. Welcome to the new chapter." I waited for the backlash. I waited for her fans to demand her return. But the comments weren't filled with "Where's Brittany?" They were filled with "Finally, something real." That was the sting she couldn't recover from. 5 years of her life, and her own audience preferred a piece of wood to her face. I was asleep when she found out. She took the Instagram account. She took the website. She took the brand. All of it, legally, quietly, at 2 in the morning. Smash that like button if you did not see that coming. Subscribe to Story Mode Revenge right now. And keep watching, because her father is about to flip the entire board. I woke up to pounding on my front door. 7 in the morning. 47 missed calls. I walked to the door, coffee in hand, and opened it. Brittany stood on my porch. Mascara running down her face. Phone clutched in her hand like a weapon. "You deleted me," she screamed. "You deleted my life. My followers. My brand. I can't log in. It says I don't own the account." "You don't," I said, taking a sip of coffee. "You defaulted on the partnership agreement. Section 8, subsection C, misuse of funds results in immediate asset forfeiture. The brand was collateral. You spent the money. I took the collateral." "You can't do that," she shrieked. "That account is worth millions. It's my identity." "It was worth millions," I corrected. "Now it's a marketing tool for my restoration business. And based on the engagement on the cabinet photo this morning, your followers actually prefer antique wood to your vacation selfies." I'll sue you. Mom and Dad will destroy you. Give it back. There's nothing to give back, I said. The account is legally mine. The debt is cleared. You have no criminal record, no outstanding fines, and no job. You wanted a fresh start, Brittany. I looked at her. You got one. She turned and ran back to her car, sobbing into her phone. I went back inside and got ready for work. I thought it was over. I thought I had one. I didn't know that while I had been playing chess, my father had been preparing to flip the entire board. Brittany is gone. The brand is gone. Kendra thinks it's finished. Comment below right now, do you think it's actually over? Tell us what you think happens next. Subscribe to Story Mode Revenge and keep watching, because Richard just filed a lawsuit. And what happens in that courtroom is the twist nobody saw coming. I was locking my office door, certain it was finished, when Richard stepped out of the shadows. That cold predator's smile on his face. Going somewhere? He asked. He handed me an envelope. I had been served. Richard and Susan were suing me for a constructive trust. They claimed the $5,000 loan from when I was 19 was actually investment capital. They claimed the antiques that launched my entire company were family heirlooms. They wanted half my business. Half the glass house. Half of everything I had built with my own bleeding hands. It was controlled, weaponized through the court system. They thought I would cave. They were wrong. In court, Richard performed beautifully. He portrayed himself as a heartbroken father who had sacrificed everything. Under oath, he swore that the Ming vase, the Victorian armchairs, and the porcelain collection were all family property, given to me as a gift in good faith back in 2018. He was convincing. He was composed. He was lying. My lawyer slid a document across the table. Exhibit C. An insurance claim, filed by Richard himself, in that same year. Reporting every single one of those items as stolen. And collecting $200,000 in insurance payouts. My father had a choice, admit he committed insurance fraud in 2018, or admit he was committing perjury right now. He walked into that courtroom to take my house. He walked out in handcuffs. The math was simple. Either way, his life as he knew it was over. The math was simple and devastating. Either Richard had lied to the insurance company in 2018 to collect $200,000. Or he was lying to the court right now to steal half my company. Either way, he was a criminal. The judge ordered both Richard and Susan taken into immediate custody. Their assets were frozen. Their social circle, the country club, the dinner parties, the carefully constructed image of respectable success, evaporated overnight. Every lie they had built their lives on, scorched. In a single afternoon. Brittany lost her safety net. And tumbled, for the very first time in her life, into the real world. Without a platform. Without a brand. Without parents to call. Without me. That night I went back to the glass house. I sat at my workbench and sanded down a damaged chair, layer by layer, until I reached the clean solid wood underneath. That is what restoration teaches you. You cannot repair rot. You have to cut it out completely. My parents spent years trying to claim my future. Instead, they destroyed their own. My home is mine. My company is mine. My life, for the first time, is entirely, completely, irrevocably mine. And nobody, not a candlestick, not a lawsuit, not a family who decided I was invisible. Nobody is ever taking it again. Richard and Susan are in custody. Brittany has no platform, no brand, and no safety net. And Kendra is sitting in the glass house she built with her own hands, sanding a chair at midnight, finally free. If this story hit the way it was supposed to, smash that like button right now. Subscribe to Story Mode Revenge and press that bell icon. Drop a comment below, what was the moment in this story that got you? We read every single one. Every single comment. And we will see you in the next one.